Have you ever stopped to think if you're emotionally and psychologically mature? I'm not just talking about being an adult with responsibilities, but about how you handle your feelings, your actions, and even life's challenges. True maturity goes far beyond age or the number of things you've achieved. Today, we're going to talk about 12 signs that show you've reached emotional and psychological maturity. And you might be surprised by some of these traits because maturity, contrary to what many people think, has much more to do with how well you know and handle yourself than anything else. You take responsibility for your actions. The first trait of an emotionally mature person is that they don't run from responsibility. Imagine the following situation. Something went wrong at work, or you had an argument with someone close, and you're well aware that you had your share of the blame. Instead of trying to blame someone else or make excuses, a mature person admits the mistake. They understand that it's part of the growth process, and that owning up to mistakes is the first step toward learning from them. Maturity brings the awareness that life isn't about always being right, but about how you react when you're wrong. Emotionally mature people don't waste time protecting their ego. They prefer to face reality and improve from there. You don't let emotions control you. Everyone has bad days. The question is how you handle those moments. When you're emotionally mature, you don't let your feelings dominate you. You feel anger, sadness, joy, but you don't act impulsively because of them. This doesn't mean repressing what you feel, but knowing how to express your emotions in a healthy way. Immature people tend to act in the heat of the moment, while mature people take a step back, take a deep breath, and try to process what they're feeling before making any decisions. This shows self-control and emotional intelligence. And, let's face it, it's much easier to avoid regrets when you act calmly and consciously, right? You understand that not everything revolves around you. One of the greatest signs of maturity is when you realize that the world doesn't revolve around you. When we're younger, it's common to think that everything that happens, good or bad, has to do with us. If someone's in a bad mood, we think it's our fault. If someone doesn't reply to our message quickly, we start thinking they're upset with us. But when you mature, you understand that people have their own battles and concerns, and that their actions don't always have anything to do with you. This gives you more peace in dealing with situations, without carrying unnecessary guilt or stress. Isn't it liberating to understand that things aren't always about you? You can listen to and accept criticism. Receiving criticism isn't easy, right? But when you're emotionally mature, you can listen to feedback and reflect on it. And the best part, you do this without taking it personally. Of course, this doesn't mean you have to accept everything people say about you, but a mature person can separate what's constructive from what's just baseless criticism. People who have reached maturity understand that criticism can be great tools for improvement and growth. They know that no one is perfect, and that listening to others' opinions is a way to become a better version of yourself. You know you won't always have all the answers. That desire to control everything diminishes significantly when you mature. You realize that it's okay not to know everything. Accepting that you still have a lot to learn is liberating. Instead of pretending to know, you admit that you don't and work to improve. Interestingly, the more you grow emotionally, the more you realize how much there is to learn. Maturity is about being open to learning from situations and people around you, without feeling the need to have all the answers all the time. You respect others' boundaries. This is where empathy and respect come in. An emotionally mature person understands that people have their own limits and timing. They don't force anyone to do something they don't want to, nor do they try to control how others feel or think. Respecting someone's space is a sign of respect not just for them, but for yourself. In relationships, especially close ones like with partners or family, it's common to try to change the other person or impose your worldview. But as you mature, you realize that everyone has their own journey and limitations. This helps you maintain much healthier and balanced relationships. You can forgive yourself and others. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer the consequences. Have you heard that phrase? Well, forgiving isn't about the other person, it's about freeing yourself from pain and resentment. And when you're mature, you understand this. You realize that people make mistakes, and that you make mistakes too. So instead of carrying anger or guilt for too long, you allow yourself to forgive. This doesn't mean you accept everything or completely forget what happened, but you choose to move on instead of being stuck in the past. You learn from your mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, one of the clearest signs of emotional and psychological maturity is the ability to learn from your own mistakes. When you're younger or emotionally immature, it's common to repeat the same mistakes over and over without understanding what you're doing wrong. But when you mature, you start seeing each mistake as a lesson. It's that famous saying, "Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it." And this applies perfectly here. A mature person analyzes situations and, upon realizing what went wrong, changes their approach to avoid falling into the same traps again. You know how to ask for help. Some people think that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but it's actually the opposite. An emotionally mature person knows when they need help and isn't afraid or ashamed to ask for it. Whether it's during an emotional difficulty or a work project that's not going as planned, they understand that asking for help doesn't diminish their ability. In fact, recognizing that you don't have to do everything on your own and that it's more efficient to rely on others shows great emotional intelligence. Maturity here is realizing that asking for help is often the wisest decision. You live in the present without being stuck in the past or anxious about the future. Do you know those people who constantly dwell on the past or are always anxious about what's to come? That's quite common when we haven't reached emotional maturity. Those who have reached this stage know how to balance thinking about the past and the future without letting either control their life. Of course, the past offers important lessons, and the future requires planning. But the key is not living trapped by them. A mature person learns from what has happened and makes plans for what's to come, but they live in the now with awareness and presence, enjoying the current moment. You recognize the value of patience. Emotional maturity is knowing that not everything happens when we want it to. There's a saying that goes, "Patience is a virtue," and this is something you truly understand when you mature. Things happen in their own time. Not everything is under your control. Learning to be patient and trust the process is one of the greatest signs of emotional growth. A mature person knows that it's not always about rushing and making things happen immediately, but about knowing how to wait for the right moment. You have a realistic view of life. Finally, an emotionally mature person has a realistic view of life. They don't live in a world of illusions, thinking that everything will be perfect, that things will fall into their lap, or that it will be easy all the time. They understand that life is full of ups and downs, that difficult moments are part of the process, and that challenges are opportunities for growth. This realistic view, however, isn't pessimistic. Quite the opposite. A mature person acknowledges the difficulties but also knows they have the strength and ability to overcome whatever comes their way. They face challenges with courage and determination, and that makes all the difference. If you're committed to your personal development and want to keep evolving and leveling up, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, I always bring practical and powerful content to help you keep growing. And if this video helped you in any way, make sure to leave a like so that more people can be impacted as well. In the description, you'll find links to books that I've carefully selected, works that can completely transform the way you think and act. It's definitely worth checking out. And don't leave just yet. Take a look at the suggested videos here on the screen. They will help you even more on your personal development journey. See you there.